Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Rockwood, your part number 2672 door coordinator. 2672.28, that's the finish. It's an aluminum sprayed finish. It's a coordinator that's 52-inch with a filler bar that's 18 5/8. One set with template. Maybe with the installation document. Hard to say. So a coordinator, and here it is, by the way. This is primarily a two-piece system, and coordinators are almost always bar coordinators are almost always two-piece systems. The reason they're a two-piece system is that you need the coordinator and all of its internal components, and then you need just simply the filler bar. So coordinators would be used on pairs of doors, and obviously the door width opening, the door opening size is made up of the width of the two individual panels that are inside of there. Well, the width can be anything. It can be 6 foot, most commonly, 7 foot, 8 foot, 4 foot 8, 5 foot 10, could be anything. Then you can have anything you want for the inactive door leaf width, and then the active door width. They can be the same. They normally are, but not always. So the coordinator, the fixed position, the fixed bar with all the internal componentry, that needs to be made based on two things. Certainly the width of the opening, but then the width of the active door, or the width of each door, so that it can position these two triggers in the right locations. Okay? We're going to talk about what these trigger buttons do. Okay? I don't believe you're going to have an instance where the filler bar or the coordinator can be a single bar, and be manufactured for the proper width of opening, for the proper size of each leaf. We'll take a look at that. But generally, you're going to have a filler bar, is what you'll have. And this is nothing other than a piece of steel that's going to get installed to clean off the entire look. It's called a bar coordinator because that's kind of what it looks like. A bar coordinator is a very typical and common piece of equipment used in the following application. You have a pair of doors, and you have hardware installed that a part of the door, the astragal, or the hardware itself, needs to be timed in terms of the closing sequence of the opening. So an example of the door itself, you might have an astragal attached, and you want that inactive door to, well, you might want the inactive door to close first, because in a reverse bevel, a right-hand reverse bevel active door, you might have an astragal applied to it. Okay, so you want this to close first, so the active door can close. If the active door were to close first, the inactive door is not going to close all the way because of that astragal sticking into it. The same sort of application would be appropriate if you had, let's say, a mortise exit device on the active door, and then you had on the inactive door surface vertical rods, and you needed the inactive door to close first because it's got the strike for the mortise exit device. You'd probably have a carry bar installed in that instance as well. In case you hit the inactive door first, it would help push the active door along with it to open. But that would be another example, and you will certainly see, literally, mortise exit device on the active, surface vertical rod on the inactive. I've seen that in hospitals. But most commonly, you'll have a pair of doors that are loading dock doors. They're fire rated, or they're exterior, whatever the case might be. They might need to latch for security, they might need to latch for fire rating, and both. You want to have the inactive door close first so the active door can close and come behind it. That astragal might be there, or you might have, semi-automatic flush bolts, or automatic flush bolts where the inactive door needs to close, and it's not secured yet. It only becomes secured when the active door closes. So the purpose of the coordinator is that it literally holds up it literally holds open ajar the active door until the inactive door closes. And let me demonstrate that. So we've got this trigger on this side, and it doesn't go in. We've got this trigger on this side, and it always operates. This is the inactive side. So what happens is, when the door closes, when the door is closing, it will depress that. It doesn't take too many pounds of force to depress that. When that's depressed, you'll then, this trigger will then be allowed to travel. If the active door were to close first, it would hit that. It would not be allowed to close until the inactive door came and closed, depressing that, allowing that to depress. Okay? That's how that works. It's that simple. There are different types of coordinators. Universal coordinators, Rockwood makes. Gravity coordinators, Rockwood makes. Then the bar coordinator. I like the bar coordinator because it's very unobtrusive. You're going to see bar coordinators in hotels, the different floors. You've got the pairs of doors from the elevator shaft tower to the common corridors. That pair of doors that are held open, they'll have a bar coordinator on it. Not always, but usually. A bar coordinator is installed on the soffit of the header of the frame and is basically a nondescript, an inconspicuous piece of hardware. A universal or a gravity coordinator from Rockwood, or anyone else for that matter, is quite conspicuous and does lend itself to vandalism because you've got projecting hardware really hanging off the header of the opening. And a bar coordinator is very slick. There is a downside of bar coordinators in that you need to buy more hardware when you're using them with door closers or whatever might be installed there as well. You may have conflict with, and they have mounting bars or mounting blocks that are offered that will. Here's the example. You install this to the soffit. Well, where's your parallel arm bracket going to be attached to for the closer? Well, it needs to go right here, but if you screw through this, you're probably going to break the operation. So they have, running screws through here will probably destroy this. They have a mounting block that will attach on the frame itself, allowing the coordinator to scoot underneath it, and then you apply your parallel arm bracket directly to that mounting bracket. Okay, so nothing has to go through this. You're not screwing through this at all. So you do need that other equipment, assuming that you're installing surface-mounted, parallel arm-mounted door closers. But it's a really concealed-ish type way to go about doing this. You've got to be mindful, when you're relocating those closers, that might be an issue, dropping it down a little bit. So you need to look at the templates. But a bar coordinator is really common. I think that they're the preferred way to go because just simply, they're really not hanging off. You really can't tell that they're there unless you're looking for them. And they don't really get into people's way. I have had people, hey, this coordinator doesn't work. Well, what happened? Yeah, they were trying to push the doors closed and that active door just wouldn't close. Well, yeah, they made it close. Stories like that. Or they literally, hey, the coordinator didn't work right out of the box. What happened? Well, I installed it. Okay, good. Then what happened? We put the closers on. Okay, good. What happened then? And then it stopped working. Do you have the mounting blocks? No, I don't have those. What are those? They ran the screws through there. So they're easy to run afoul of, but they're also simple and straightforward if you understand how they work. Now, also what's going to be included will be all of your fasteners. You're going to get these two large plates, and those plates mount to the face of the door so that this is not damaging the face of your door. You'll have those rub plates. Then you're going to get machine screws for attaching not only the rub plates, but the coordinator to your soffit. And that should be ordered. Your frame most definitely should be ordered reinforced for this so that there's proper steel up there so that when you're drilling and tapping the holes that you've got actual thickness of material to tap the hole to and to thread the bolt to. So installation instructions are also included. They're really simple and straightforward. Let's switch to the screen view now and let's take a closer look at that document and all of the supporting documentation. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Here is the item that we are looking at. Let's take a closer look at the images that we have posted down below. There's the box. Here's everything that you get. It is UL listed, means it's been tested, and it's labeled. It bears visual evidence that it is appropriate for use on a fire door. That is the inactive lobe end. There's the active door end. Yeah, this is going to have something in here that we're going to talk about as well. Then your screw pack. Okay, now let's take a look at the extended description. This is the 2600 series coordinator. The 7.2, you can kind of guess what that means. It's for a 72-inch wide opening, as indicated here. Standard device size, it's 52 inches, the length of the unit. It's non-handed. Now, override protection to prevent damage in case of abnormal force on door. And that's going to have everything to do with what I just mentioned here. Okay, that spring. We'll look at that in the installation instructions. Mechanism and filler bar completely fill the width of the opening, when painted to match the frame, it becomes virtually invisible. It does, no doubt. Specify make and model of exit device for vertical rod installation. I don't know why they need to know that. Maybe because they're going to build the item in such a way that you can pierce through it for that top strike. Okay, they had the predecessor to this was the 1600, and I see that we've got a little typo there, which will, by the time you're seeing this, it'll be corrected. For jam, opening widths 55 to 96, coordinator length 52 inch. Okay, so what they're saying is your filler bar is going to change, is what they're saying, in terms of length. If you go with something wider than that, you could have a 60-inch coordinator length, depending on the configuration. Unusual, but those accommodations for door width and opening size are available. Now, links over here. Let's look at the template first. Okay, this kind of doubles as installation instructions, and all you need to do is to follow the placement of your scar plates. So we're doing the 52, and they have their older part number references here, but this will be a 2672. Your A dimension is 47.5, and it's measured from the stop on the frame, not from the rabbet naturally. This is, right now we are standing on the push side of the opening. So you're going to locate where you're going to mark both of your rub plates, a 1/16 of an inch down from the stop. They're not referring to the top of the door. This shows it a little differently here in terms of what that's all going to look like. They refer to, I'm calling them rub plates, scar plates, strike plates is what they're calling them. You can see how the filler bar comes into play here to fill up that extra area. They refer to that lobe there in this screwdriver shape there. We'll talk about that in a moment. This is a reference to the different mounting brackets that they have here. So we're looking at this in a cross section. Rockwood, let's start over. Rockwood has different types of mounting brackets. The 2601AB and the C. They have two of them, obviously. And what they're showing us here is what it looks like. This item right here is that bracket that you would attach your auxiliary hardware to, so that the coordinator can run through unobstructed. The determination of which bracket to use is based on the depth of the frame. So when you have a narrow jam depth where your soffit dimension is 2 1/4 inch or less, you'll use the 2601. Now 2 1/4 is probably going to be a 5 3/4 frame. If it's a little bit less than that, then you're going to have, if it's about 2 inch, could be an equal rabbet frame. They're referring to this as an unequal rabbet frame is what we think. Okay, so 5 3/4 frame, 2 1/4 inch soffit width. You'd use that 2601 AB, and they're just basically showing it two different ways depending on how wide your soffit is, here and here. Now, when you get to a deeper frame where your soffit size is over 2 1/4, you'll use the C version, the 2601C, and then again, your auxiliary hardware just simply mounts here. Now, I would, you'd need to think about this as well in terms of how weather stripping gets involved. How are you going to weather strip this opening? Because these brackets are only about 6 inches wide. So that would be a concern that you'd have to think about as well. And when I say soffit, I mean this dimension here. If I were to draw a frame, that's called the return, that's called the face, that's the rabbet, that's the rabbet, that's the stop face, this is all the stop, that's called the soffit. Just this plane right here, that's the soffit. And that's where you're going to attach your coordinator to. So that's the template, and that's basically the installation instructions. You may have to cut something, but probably not, because this is taken into account the opening size, and naturally they're assuming a 5/8 projection on the stops. So if you have a stop projection other than 5/8, it won't be less. It could be greater, but it probably won't be. You might have to modify that slightly. All right, let's take a look at the installation. All right, much of this is going to be the same information. Let's go right to the new information, which is here. Field adjustment of coordinator override could be needed. That's in here. That's spring. Use Phillips head screwdriver to adjust the lever spring. Turn clockwise to increase override for heavy doors. So if you've got an inactive door and the closer is pulling that door closed prematurely, you'll want to adjust that as we had shown earlier. That's what that's for. Okay, so you set that adjustment should you need to, but should you continue to push on it, that override is going to allow it to not be permanently destroyed. Okay, so the data up top is review for us, as is this. They give us a lot, substantially greater data in terms of dimensions. You need to know that stuff, but there's nothing here that's too crucial. Giving you the locations of where the holes will be. I'm tempted to say that's from the face of from the stop face at 11/16. Yeah, it really would be my opinion that that's what it is. Filler bar. Field adjustment of door closers is required after installation of coordinator to ensure against doors closing too fast and changing coordinator mechanism. Yep, you've got to install it and then test it, make sure it works. Those same drawings that we just referred to on the mounting brackets are here again. and reading from the manufacturer's information here, in some situations where hardware such as a parallel arm closer or surface vertical rod strikes would normally be mounted to the door stop, we're calling it the soffit, installation becomes more complicated because the coordinator now covers the stop and no holes can be drilled into the coordinator, which would interfere with the coordinator mechanism. The mounting brackets, the 2601AB and the 2601C, are installed over the coordinator and mounted to the door frame. The hardware is then installed by drilling and tapping holes in the bracket. Note the mounting brackets are used. Be sure to lower the mounting holes for your door applied hardware 15/16 to allow for the coordinator and mounting bracket. So clearly what they're saying here is 15/16. The dimension from the soffit to down here would be 15/16. So you have to adjust that. Yeah, it's shown right here. I had mentioned a carry bar earlier. You might need that. If your hardware arrangement permits the inactive door from being opened before the active door, you'll definitely want to have a carry bar. Think of a mortise exit device in the active door and a surface vertical rod device on the inactive door. If you were to hit the inactive door first, the latches top and bottom will retract, and you're going to start to push both doors open. You're going to drag the active door along with you because the latch bolt is still engaged in the strike plate that's in the edge of the inactive door. Well, a carry bar is going to force that active door to move along with it, allowing the latch to come out of the hole in the strike plate is what that would be for. You're most likely not going to need a carry bar because you're most likely going to have an inactive door with nothing on it. No dummy trim, nothing can be made to look like it can be operated to exit, especially if it's an emergency, a path of emergency egress. So you would have no need for a carry bar unless you had hardware that would allow you to open the inactive door first. Okay, let's take a look now at the product info. This is a cut sheet, really. This shows a gravity coordinator. It does the same job, except that it mounts on the header. It mounts here, and it's got those brackets and the roller that's here, so that when the door closes, and that bracket is with the wheel is hanging out there, and then you've got this lobe. When that inactive door comes and closes, the lobe that's on here is shaped like that so that it will lift this up. It actually, because they're connected, it will lift everything up, allowing the active door to then pass. So gravity coordinators are not uncommon because they're less costly, but they're less elegant because they're literally hanging off the door and frame. There's the carry bar information, your mounting brackets, the A, B, and the C, and then there's a universal style. It's basically a gravity coordinator without the filler bars. It's going to be probably less expensive. I don't sell very many of them, maybe a handful a year. You don't sell a lot of coordinators either. Those are new installations sort of thing, or maybe if you're converting something. So I think of this as a bar coordinator simply without the filler bar. Not for use with vertical rotted panic devices, sure, because that's going to have to go, that strike will have to go here, and there's no way to accommodate it, and I don't believe there's a bracket that's going to work with the 1700. So these two brackets are what are used with the bar coordinator itself. Then there's product brochure. It's probably the same document. Yeah, it is. It shouldn't be there twice. Let's check that. Yeah, unfortunately it is. We'll see about rectifying that. Okay, now there is a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page, and when you click on that, our manufacturer's page here will load. This will allow you to review not only all things Rockwood related, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. I would suggest that you review the full product catalog for all things Rockwood trim and auxiliary hardware related. Okay. A name synonymous with trim and auxiliary hardware since the mid-20th century. There's also a link to the Architectural Door Pull catalog. That's here as well. 100+ pages of just variations of custom door pulls. That's almost exclusively what's in this document. Pulls, push bars, things of that nature. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Okay, so the name Rockwood, again, synonymous with trim and auxiliary hardware. Coordinators are pretty typical, pretty common. Where I sell these is the following. I have a pair of fire doors that are in a condo building. It is a path of emergency egress. A pair of doors, panic device on the active only, because the occupancy only requires it's not a condo building. It is a strip mall kind of thing, and they've got a pair of doors. The occupancy only requires one exit device, one door to have an exit device on it. You have a astragal attached to the pull side of the active door. You've got automatic flush bolts. You've got closers on both. You need a coordinator. There's nothing on the inactive door at all because that's not permitted. That would be a great example of it. Another example of it would be the same scenario, condo building. They're just a pair of fire doors. They are not a path of emergency exit. You've got a mortise lock on the active, and you've got automatic flush bolts on the inactive. You've got an astragal, or you have, something that you want to time the doors closed for. It would be some sort of astragal is what it would be. Or you don't have an astragal, but you need to be able to get the inactive door closed first for your automatic flush bolt so the active door can come and then throw the bolts on the inactive door. So that's really where you're going to see those. And then, of course, that the hotel application. You'll always see a coordinator on those pairs of doors to time those doors closed. There's astragals on those doors. You've got neutral pressure doors that don't have a built-in intumescent. There's going to be a need for metal edge sets on those fire-rated wood doors. There you go. Any questions on the Rockwood 2670 or any other Rockwood product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.